on Reels. I'm Michael Fooch.
And I am the Batman, known as Xavier Barnett. What's up, everybody?
Today on the podcast, we will be doing deep dive reviews into Jojo Rabbit, Ford versus Ferrari, and as I mentioned last week on the podcast, we have a special treat for you that will let you know after we're done our first two reviews.
Yes, it's a special treat for everybody. And don't forget to leave us a review and like on iTunes, Instagram, Spotify, SoundCloud. You guys know the drill. So keep on drilling and writing those reviews and likes and everything like that. You're looking at me like I'm a complete weirdo right now.
No, I'm not weird. I'm just listening, engaged into what you're saying. How you doing this week, Xavier?
I'm doing pretty good. I've been let free. One of the greatest things that's ever been invented has been released.
Are we talking about
to the
Disney Plus?
public. I was talking about the redesign of Sonic. No, I'm just joking. It's Disney Plus.
Did you get it on day one?
Yeah, I got it literally. I waited, so it was funny. So I played this game called Marvel Strike Force, right? And my clan's like, "Do you think Disney Plus is gonna come at 12 a.m.?" And it was like 11:30, and I'm like, I was kind of tired, but I'm like, "Oh wait, it might." So I started looking up when it was gonna come out, and then I found out it comes out at 6 a.m. Eastern. So I kind of waited until 7 a.m. and then I woke up and bought it, and then went back to bed.
What's the point in doing that?
I have no idea. I just wanted to be one of the first to have it. And I am.
All the power to you. I got it at 10 a.m. at school. I was on my prep, and I was like, you know what? I can get Disney Plus now so I can go home and watch The Mandalorian when I get home.
Yeah, no, I really... Disney Plus, it's great. Literally almost everything Disney and a couple of Fox properties in there as well.
What's the thing that's impressed you the most with Disney Plus? Obviously, other than like their new stuff like that they had available to watch.
Stuff that I didn't know was Disney things. So like after I got Disney Plus, I sat and did like an A to Z, and I did through the series and TV shows. They had stuff like Brave Little Toaster.
I know you're a big Disney Brave Little Toaster guy.
I love that series. I had Thumbelina. Stuff that I didn't even remember being Disney stuff.
Thumbelina, I think, is Fox. I don't think Thumbelina is
it's Fox,
Disney.
but they own it now.
Yeah.
So it says because it's had Disney Presents on top of it, so.
Well, maybe it is Disney.
Mm-hmm.
But it went to theaters, and it's not one of their.
Yeah, it's not one
movies.
of their. Because I know it wasn't, but I guess they own that property now, so it's on there. And obviously, I showed it to my sister and everything. She started watching That's So Raven immediately.
Oh, back to the classic
Yeah.
Disney Channel properties.
Had
are all
like
there.
Boy Meets World.
That was my number one.
Yeah.
Rewatching Boy Meets World and the Spider-Man 95 animated TV show.
Yeah.
So Gargoyles, like
Gargoyles was on it. DuckTales, Darkwing Duck.
Darkwing Duck.
Yeah, it's
so good. Oh, and whatchamacall, Tailspin.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of old school stuff there that I've ended up growing up and watching.
So basically, I'm basically spending the next year binge watching all of the old television shows.
Yeah.
Does that include like every animated Disney movie?
Yeah, they have them all, right? I can't. Now, whenever we have to rewatch an animated movie that's Disney, I have no problem finding something.
Pixar,
Yeah.
all the Star Wars movies are on there.
I think
all the TV shows like Rebels and Clone Wars.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna rewatch WALL-E because I never fully watched it, and you always keep telling me to watch it, so I'm gonna start watching it.
I'm telling you, it could
movie.
definitely be the number one Pixar movie.
Okay.
I mean, Coco's maybe. I don't know. It's definitely up there.
Yeah.
It's definitely up there. I love WALL-E. Mm-hmm. Any other news you want to talk about?
This is. I thought it was very funny, but they redesigned a certain character.
Yes, we talked about
the Blue Bullet.
We talked about this on the podcast when they pulled the movie because of all of the criticisms.
Yeah.
Are you now? Listen, I'm not a video gamer like you're a video gamer. Are you content with the new look of Sonic?
I'm not gonna lie, it looks a lot better. Classic executive. Some people say this was there's a conspiracy theories going on that they purposely released the badly designed Sonic so that people get people talking about the movie and then redesign it, because it's pretty fast that they did it, because this movie was supposed to be released in November and it's coming out in February, so they had like an extra 3 months to kind of do that, and that like takes a lot of time.
That would be brilliant. I hope that's true, because there's nothing better to get your movie talked about.
Yeah, right.
Creating controversy around it.
Yeah, I heard the funniest thing is like if you want to get an answer on the internet, don't ask the question, just write something with the wrong answer and someone will be quick to correct you.
Yeah, it's about right.
Whenever I heard that, I'm like, I'm going to do that trick from now on.
That would be very smart. You know what, though? I think a lot of people are doing that, leaking their information.
Yeah.
And just getting what people think.
Yeah.
If they're like...
General public consensus.
Yeah, if they can go two ways, they leak a third way.
Yeah.
Or leak one of the ways and see what people say.
Yeah, it's kind of like a little bit of free marketing, right? Like, instead of having like focus groups, like we see how sometimes that doesn't work, Batman versus Superman, and so this way you kind of get the real general public and start seeing how they actually feel about everything like that, right?
See, do you like this?
What this
using this kind of method?
leaking information?
Yes.
So the internet, right? It's a whole different animal. There's lots of... Do I like it? Not really, but...
See, I don't like it either, because I think there's a dangerous pattern to this.
Yeah.
Number one, you also lose creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And
fans outrage and just want everything to get changed immediately.
Exactly, and you end up getting situations where people now want like things changed. They protest, redo this, or give us a Snyder cut of the Justice
Batman.
League.
Redo Game of Thrones, blah blah
Yeah,
blah.
like,
It's
I don't know.
It sets a dangerous precedent.
It does.
Go, right? The internet rage culture. That's what I call it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it's like fake outrage too, because it's like you just get on board with everyone else.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's just I want to be part of the group that's
I just
outraged.
want to parrot what everybody else is saying and just... Yeah, it's very strange, and plus it feels like people won. Like, even if the redesign of Sonic, I kind of wanted it to look bad anyways, because it just looked funny after a while, right? But now it looks better. I didn't want them to redesign it or anything like that. I'm like, this is your decision. It's your decision. I don't agree with it, but that's how I kind of feel about it.
And I'm not gonna lie to you. I think the movie's still gonna be bad. Like,
yeah, that doesn't save the movie.
I feel it's a movie nobody wants.
Yeah.
It's like I don't understand. This is what I don't understand. There are so many movies being made now that nobody wants.
Yeah.
That nobody's
the
asking
Emoji
for
Movie.
It. The Emoji Movie, another Charlie's Angels movie, a bunch of sequels that come out that nobody asks for. They keep making these movies, and guess what? No one's going to see them. Well,
in one of the movies, it's just, a bunch of executives making dumbass decisions and trying to undermine creative minds.
Well, this is why everyone's going to TV these days, right?
Yeah.
Because TV, they have free range.
Mm-hmm.
Because like that's why we're in the golden age of the small screen, and I don't think there's any other really major news to talk about. I think that we should kind of start talking.
Mm-hmm.
Well, our producer's saying we have to talk about Beverly Hills Cop, so I'll say my point. So they are releasing Beverly Hills Cop 4 on Netflix. He is not happy about this at all.
Mm-hmm. I saw the first Beverly. I saw them, but I was young, so I don't really fully remember it, and I don't have the connection to it like everyone else does.
I have no issue with this. There are so many movies that come out where I'm like, it doesn't make sense for a sequel, i.e. Independence Day 2. Yeah. There's no need to make one. This is a detective. You could always make a detective, and making this movie 15 years later, there's not, as long as they don't take that character and be like, we're going to kill him off midway through the movie and bring a new hotshot in to be the new detective.
Yeah, like his son.
Yeah, exactly. Like that. I have no issue with it. Like, I look at the Lethal Weapon movies, right? The first two are kind of just really Riggs and Murtaugh, and the third one, love interest, but they're still young characters. But then they still make a fourth one where they're a little bit older. Mm-hmm. Like you could continue to make movies about cops for years after. So I have no issue if it's done correctly.
It's like TV shows about nurses and doctors and everything like that, or NCIS for how long that's been going on.
You can continue to do that as long as you keep it original. I love NCIS. I've seen every season. Me and my mom, we still watch it weekly.
Yeah, I don't watch any of that crap. Sorry.
I like it. I like NCS
But
a lot.
everyone likes what they like, you know.
Exactly.
Like,
No, absolutely. So what do you think do you think this is a bad decision by Netflix taking Beverly Hills Cop?
I'm very indifferent. I'm not gonna lie. I don't have the attachment to
Yeah, no
Beverly Hills
nostalgia
Cop
goggles for this.
that
Eh?
I do that other people have, right? That's so I'm
I don't. I didn't really think.
I'm
that
okay with it.
I like the first one, but I really didn't think the second or the third were that good to begin with. So, I mean, I don't think they can. I don't think they can harm this franchise anymore.
Yeah, you know it's
I don't think there's a nostalgia value, or even the first one. It's a very good movie, but it's not a legendary movie. At least I don't think.
has
that.
a great song in it though.
The score, you mean?
The score, yeah.
Oh, score is fantastic.
that score is amazing. I love it.
I mean, and let's be honest. What was the last good movie Eddie Murphy's done?
Yeah, that's
I think the first Shrek.
Yeah. I think that's it. The first Shrek. And then
I mean, maybe Shrek 2 or 3 are decent, but like they've made money. But can you think of a movie that like he's been in that you loved?
He hasn't made a good movie in almost like 10 years.
The first
Maybe
Shrek came out
longer.
like 2000.
2000. Oh, 20 years almost.
Have you
Oh,
seen
I heard
Dolomite Is My
Dolomite.
Name?
No, I haven't seen it. I heard that's pretty good though.
Yeah, I haven't seen Mr. Church. I've
Oh.
never even heard of Mr. Church. Dolomite Is My Name. I think just came out on Netflix.
Yeah, that came this year.
Yeah.
I haven't watched that yet, so I got to give that a watch. I've been lazy. I've been watching TV shows and anime.
So
The Weeb in me came out.
all right, enough about Beverly Hills Cop. I do want before we get into movie chat, I do need to get some stuff off my chest.
Okay.
And before we do that, spoiler alert to anyone who wants to watch The Mandalorian, because we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about it.
The first 2 episodes.
Obviously, that's all that's out at this point.
Yeah.
At least we're doing the podcast. I think the next one comes out on Tuesday.
On Friday.
No, there's 2 this week that come out.
Oh, really?
It's every week 2, except for the last 2 episodes are a week apart.
Okay. I thought it was like because I was looking, it's like, I thought it was this week and then 1 week it's on 2 but who knows?
Whatever,
Who
we'll get
cares?
another one.
It's no big deal.
All right, Xavier. We're both big Star Wars guys. That's not should be a shock to anybody. What did you think of The Mandalorian? The first 2 episodes.
I really like it. Feels like Star Wars has new life in it again, you know? It was kind of it felt dead to me a little bit, you know? I'm not the biggest fan of The Last Jedi. Solo's
Understatement
okay to
of
me.
the century.
Solo's okay to me. So I just like the TV shows. They're like I like Clone Wars and thing, but it just doesn't feel like Star Wars because it's not live action. Like I like it, it's good, but it's just not like I said, it's not live action. This felt like whoa, I'm back in the world again. You know, just like the shots. And the thing that's really impressive is like you can tell they put real money into this because some scenes are just pure movie quality. Like it looks like you're watching a movie, and then when it's like a lower quality scene, it's like an HBO level, which is pretty much high because like HBO production value, we all
Game
know
of
they
Thrones.
spend money, right? So there's so that's like the lowest like set of quality just watching it and just seeing certain things and aspects and just like the characters interesting to me. I'm engaged. You know, he's capable, but he's not like the greatest. He can still be capable of making mistakes and everything like that. From the characters we've seen, there's not really much characters. We probably got introduced to like 7 characters in total. Most of them are all like interesting, and it kind of shows you this is kind of set before Force Awakens and just after like Return of the Jedi.
We don't know
So-
when, but it's after Return of the Jedi. We have no idea
Yeah.
when after.
No, it's before because it's literally
No, it's after.
no before the Force Awakens.
Oh, I know we don't know, but
In
that's
between that, yeah, that's
like a
very
30-year
broad.
difference.
Yeah,
I'm saying
you're
we don't
right,
know
you're
when
right.
after Return of the Jedi, but it's before Force Awakens.
Yeah, it's before Force Awakens and after Return of the Jedi. I thought you meant like we don't know it. Yeah, you're right. There's a 30-year gap, so yeah. What about you, Fooch?
I loved it. It felt like Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know what? I mean, I can't dislike is hate is not strong enough a word for my opinion of The Last Jedi. So feel free to criticize all you people who love it, but it wasn't a Star Wars movie. You can say whatever you want. The Last Jedi was not a Star Wars movie. Solo, it didn't feel like a Star Wars movie. This show feels like Star Wars. The music feels like Star Wars. The
Yeah.
storyline feels like Star Wars. It is so well done. And again, they put money into it, but more importantly, they really thought out a script, or at least it seems that way 2 episodes in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I loved it. I can't wait for the 3rd episode.
Yeah, I'm excited. The only issue I have with this is that the episodes are so short. Like I was expecting a nice like hour. The first episode I saw 39 minutes, and I'm just like, only 39 minutes?
And it was really only like 34 with all of these.
Yeah, it's the.
But
Mhm.
5 years after Return of the Jedi, 25 years before Force Awakens.
so we're just
Okay.
we're getting it's 5 years after Return of the Jedi, which I guess makes sense.
Yeah.
But here's the real question: how good were the first 5 minutes?
Oh, that was amazing.
Like
It's,
you could not have written it better.
That was like the classic scene of the guy that doesn't know anything about like
Bounty
certain
hunters.
characters or bounty hunters or like maybe a Jedi. It reminded me of the New Hope scene where the guy's like, "Hey, my friend doesn't like you." He's like, "I don't like you either," and then he gets his head cut off. Right? That just reminded me of the scene. I'm like, there's always that one guy that just messes with the wrong dude and then just ends up getting killed. Like. It was just the classic thing, and then it sets this tone of the story pretty well, right? Like you tell, he's capable, and he's a Mandalorian, man. That race is pretty much a race of badasses, pretty much on the.
Have we
show.
seen a Mandalorian in the Star Wars universe in the canon movies?
Yeah,
Who?
Boba Fett, Jango Fett.
Is Boba though a Mandalorian, or does he just wear the uniform? I know Django is, but is
He's
Boba?
so Boba Fett's a clone of Jango Fett, so
But does
he's
he?
a Mandalorian.
Okay.
Technically, he's a Mandalorian blood, but he never lived in Mandalore. Like in the movies, you don't really see, like back when they had Legends, the Mandalorians had like a lot of like, culture and everything like that. But now they kind of Legends. So this is your first real look at a Mandalorian in canon again.
In the first episode, the scene I really liked is obviously the final little battle sequence where they're going out and they're just killing all these people.
Yeah,
The droid,
yeah.
as he looks like he's outnumbered, keeps wanting to self-destruct. And the Mandalorian keeps saying, "Don't self-destruct."
Yeah, because he's like, I can't let my information get taken out.
Don't self-destruct.
I need to like look more into like bounty hunting droids. I'm like, I always ask myself like, what's the point of a bounty hunting droid? Like, why does it need the money for? Like, it's a droid. Can it just repair itself? Like, I always thought, I'm like, does someone like program the droid to hunt for them, and then the droid gives them the things back?
Maybe
like,
I think that would make the most sense. That makes sense.
right? I always wondered about like, because there's a lot of bounty hunting droids. Like in, I think there was a bounty hunting droid on like R2D2 and C3PO looking for them the one time. Like it's like an old TV show. It's like, I don't know if it's canon still or not, but
I'm not sure.
I always wondered. That's just my little question. That's just me asking
That's a
a
good
question.
So the big spoiler in the first episode is the 50-year-old that the Mandalorian has been sent to find and bring back alive if possible is the Yoda species that we don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what Yoda species is, but
It's funny. Lucas has kept this to his chest.
yeah.
Like no one knows.
Right? But it was when I saw that, I'm like, oh, that's like that could be something that's worth a lot of money, right? Like,
Oh my God.
when you see that,
And look,
I never would have guessed that
50
too.
years old and still very, very young.
Yeah,
Like still looks like he's like a baby, like a
Yeah.
toddler.
it makes sense though. Like, how old was Yoda? Like 700 years.
I think it was like 890 something.
Like-
So this new one was born around the same time as Anakin.
So this new one was born at the same time as Anakin. I'm getting.
Wow.
Now
That's
Dave,
insane.
our producer, thinks that it's the Yoda's kid.
You think Yoda was getting it on, eh? He's maybe beforehand because he was born around the same time of
I
Oh no!
don't-
How long has Yoda been a Jedi for?
I don't know.
That's a good question.
At least since the time of the Old Republic.
Yeah, at least since then, right? So it's interesting. It could be Yoda's kid, but well, in the second episode, we figure something else out.
Yeah, he's so force sensitive.
Yeah,
Which again, really cool scene. Like the Mandalorian's get his butt kicked by this like monster,
creature.
and like this Yoda type creature is just like using his hands, and you
He's
can tell
no Django Fett.
But you can tell he's force sensitive even earlier, right? Because
Yeah.
he's got a wound and he keeps trying to walk to the Mandalorian to
heal
heal him, but the Mandalorian just keeps
He's like, get out of
walking
here.
him back
Yeah.
into his
How
wound.
cute was that thing though?
He's adorable.
That like every time I looked at him, I'm like, oh my god, this thing's.
And I
like,
mean, I'll be honest. Like, let's be honest. Yoda was not. Like,
yeah, it's well, they didn't have the technology they had now. Yoda just looked like it. He looked a little bit creepy.
Yeah.
But no, when I saw that, I'm like, oh my god, like this thing's so adorable, and he's trying to help, and he's walking, eating frogs and stuff. Like, well, they look like frogs. We don't know what kind of alien creatures those are.
Anything else that jumped out at you in the Mandalorian that you want to like talk about? Like,
I'll say a little bit like the cinematography, like the scenes of him walking. Like those are some really beautifully shot scenes.
It's all shots. See, like the second episode, the first like 4 minutes, there's like no dialogue.
Yeah, it's just shots of him walking. And I'm just like, and I was okay with it. I was loving it. I'm like, yo, this is excellent world building for this film, for this TV show. Pretty much is a film because it's amazing because of the quality.
Yeah, it's a miniseries. That's what it is.
Yeah, right. But really, really enjoying the first 2 episodes of what I see so far.
Me too.
And I have spoken.
Oh, what do you think of that character?
Great character. I enjoyed him, right? Every time he said I have spoken, he's just like, that's it. You're not.
And the Mandalorian just kind of just
Unofficially.
agreed with him.
Yeah, he's just like, okay. I mean, he looks like he's an expert in the land, right?
Yep.
And everything like that. And he
I've
just
spoken.
lives a nice, simple line, right?
Where do you think it goes from here? Do you think that the Mandalorian will give up the Yoda creature to his bounty, or will he keep him?
I don't know. I think he might like give him off to like let him. We all, from what I look like, it looks like the Mandalorian's not like a total scumbag, and I think he's gonna do something.
I think he's
else,
gonna be attached. I think he's gonna attach to this
Yeah.
creature.
You know.
I don't know why, but I feel like
Yeah.
something. Anyway, we'll keep
Something
you
will
updated.
happen.
We'll keep you updated on this show as we
Who's
go
gonna
through.
be in the movie?
Well, that's a good question. Do we
Yeah.
think we'll see this Yoda type creature make an appearance in Rise of Skywalker?
Rise of Skywalker will probably be like kid. Maybe he'll be a kid that can talk at that point, because Rise of Skywalker. This is 25 years later, so
25
he's
years
75. It'll be like 75,
Yeah, it'll probably be in like an early like a young adult.
maybe like not even a young adult. I'd probably say he's 50 years. He's still a baby. I'd say he'd probably be like a 4-year-old, maybe.
No, I don't think that, because if Yoda's like 900 dying, I feel like
Yeah.
he's probably this kid's probably like 4.
Yoda looked really old in the prequels and
I know.
yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
so yeah, that's true.
We'll see.
Interesting. We'll see.
I'm looking forward to it going forward. All right, you ready to get started on the movies this week?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's start with Jojo Rabbit. All right, your opening thoughts, Xavier.
I'm not gonna lie. When I saw this movie, I did not want to see this. I thought it was gonna be weird. I'm like, what is going on here? I didn't really like understand like the point of everything. And sometimes when you get dragged to a movie you don't really want to go to, you get surprised.
You're welcome, I think is the word I'm looking for. I gotta say it right here.
So we watching Jojo Rabbit. I really enjoyed it. I was really enjoying this. It felt like a nice little like dark comedy. I felt like the characters were all very interesting to me. Obviously, it's a historical film, so that always intrigues my interest as well. I'm always interested in like World War II things and everything like that. Even though I didn't really like Midway, I still started researching Battles of the Pacific literally right after. So like it always gets me to want to learn more about like the characters and everything like that. So or like the events. Just the acting was really good. The jokes really I liked most of the jokes that they all landed. And it's just the message behind it is very, very good. And I think I'm going to screw this up. Taika Waititi is very good at recording just delivering the message, right? The dangers of how propaganda or things that you show children and how easily brainwashed they can be from like a very young age. Because those are like the major years of development, right? So the first things you see there pretty much is what kind of shapes you to the kind of adult you're going to be later. Because I'm a big nurture more the nature guy. And yeah, that's pretty much. I enjoyed this film. I forgot. Probably should have said that. If you guys didn't get the hint, yes, I did enjoy this a lot.
I too, I was really impressed with this film. I was really impressed. I thought it was going to be good, and it impressed me more than I thought. And you say a lot, the acting, the story, all that. I'm not going to touch upon that right now. I can touch upon that when we do a deeper dive. What I really like about this film is how it takes a different approach to telling a story from World War II. You know, normally we see stories from. We see military stories, civilian stories from the British perspective, the American perspective. We see civilian stories that are saving Jewish people. We've never seen a story from a Nazi child perspective, and that's what we get in this film. This tells the story from a German Aryan child during the last days of the Second World War. And what really impressed me about this film, and what this film really does a great job of, it shows how children can be manipulated. And Jojo is indoctrinated by Nazi ideology, and the most important thing is he so believes it manipulates him to do everything he does in this film. The question becomes, how can a 10-year-old be bad if that's all he knows, right? Like that's the question that fascinates me. It's like Jojo's not a good person, but how can you call him a bad person when he's been raised by everyone around him?
Yeah,
it's fascinating.
Yeah, and it just really shows like the dating line, and it's not just Joe. Other people, like what I like at the start of the film is it just shows everybody just screaming like in love, like Hitler could do no wrong. He's pretty much the biggest celebrity in Germany back then. Celebrities like loosely throwing the term, but like it wasn't just like Jojo that was like this. Like almost everybody was.
But here's the important thing to understand, right? If you in 1933 when he comes to power, anyone who's older, they understand what life was like before Hitler. They were educated under an old kind of philosophy. But we know this movie takes place in 1945.
Yeah.
He was born in 1935, Jojo. That means he knew nothing but Nazi Germany. So everything he learned, the entire system is set up a certain way.
Yeah.
How can you blame a kid if that's how they're raised? And you know what? I look in this movie another thing I really like about this movie, it really applies to today. It shows the importance of education to our society. That children are that children are greatly susceptible to what they hear. Where does racism come from? Where does sexism come from? Where do all these things come from? They come from this knowledge that their parents passed down to them. And the society accepts. If I spend my entire time as a teacher, this education system spends their entire time teaching children, it's okay to hate.
What do you think the kid's gonna learn?
Or if the education system says, hey, by the way, the closest planet to the sun is Jupiter. If that's what we teach in school, why wouldn't the kids think that the closest planet to the Earth is Jupiter?
Yeah.
Children are they imitate, right? That's how they learn to walk, they learn to crawl, they learn to talk, right? They imitate the people around them. That's why we're so much like our parents, and it's so important to see this. I know one line I really like in this movie is Elsa, the Jewish girl that's being hidden in Jojo's house, says to Jojo that he's not a Nazi. He's not. You're just a boy.
Yeah. Trying to join a little club.
A lonely boy to join a club. And you know what? What I find fascinating is that's the appeal to the Nazis, right?
Yeah.
They appealed to those people that didn't have a place to go.
Yeah.
Think about it.
And it's mirrored in today's society as well.
And that's absolutely right. You want to be part of these. You wanted to be a part of these mass rallies.
Yeah.
You know what? Politics is boring, but guess what? If you join Nazi politics, you got to wear a uniform.
Yeah, you got a knife.
You got the Hitler Youth knife, right? Because that's the one thing here that this movie is based on some truth. I mean, not the characters, but the themes. and like the Hitler Youth, people who weren't old enough to serve in the army could get like the Hitler knife. You know, in Saving Private Ryan, not Vin Diesel's character,
the one, the other character, the one with the mustache.
yeah,
I forget his name.
from Glorious Bastards
Yeah.
later on. He when he sees he's going as the battle's ending, he sees the knife and he realizes like he's killed a kid.
Yeah, he's like, this kid had the Hitler Youth knife, and then he starts puking.
Yeah. So I really like this film, and I like the message that it sends.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do this podcast, this deep dive a little bit differently. I don't want to go through the script necessarily scene for scene. I want to talk about character from character, because I think what this movie does really well is it tells different stories about what people in Germany would be going through.
Mm-hmm.
You okay with that?
No.
All right.
We're going back to the regular way. No changes. I don't like change. I like to stay. Everything staying the same.
Okay, so we'll do it your way.
Or I quit. No, I'm just joking. Let's do it.
All right. So let's start with Jojo.
Mm-hmm.
So Jojo is clearly a not popular kid.
Yeah. You kind of hear right from the start, right? Jojo has a little imaginary friend.
The Fuhrer himself.
Goes by the name of Adolf Hitler. Hitler kind of, pretty much I feel like it's his subconscious.
Absolutely.
Like his Nazi subconscious, right? That's pretty much what the role he kind of plays.
It's also his confidence booster, right?
Yeah.
Because at the beginning of the movie, he's not comfortable, right?
Yeah.
It's like this imaginary Hitler's telling him, "Give me a Heil Hitler and get your tone right, say
perfect
it
right,
be more confident, right?" And all of these things. And that's a big part of Jojo, right? He's not a confident kid.
Yeah.
He is seen as one of the losers in his town.
in his town, right? Like, this kid's weird. He's a loser.
And the movie begins with him going to like a Nazi youth kind of training camp, and where he's going to learn to be a soldier. And there, he's being pressured to kill this rabbit, but he doesn't want to do it because we can get immediately understand that this is not a bad kid.
Yeah.
And he won't do it. And they call him Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah, because he tries to make her run away.
And he is, like, devastated because he wants to give off this idea. He's this really Nazi badass.
He's like, do you like killing? He's like, yes. I
course I
love
like
killing. Right?
But he's embarrassed.
Yeah.
So he runs away. And then imaginary Hitler says, own the rabbit. Be the rabbit. The rabbit's cool, right? Giving him this pep talk.
Yeah.
So he goes, runs, grabs a grenade, throws it. Hits a tree, lands right in front of him.
Explodes.
And he's disfigured. It doesn't help a loser to begin with.
Yeah. He's pretty much kicked out of the office, and then the guy that was there gets kicked out too. Yeah. Like his
scarred face, limbs, so he can never join the Nazi army. Mm-hmm. So at home, he discovers that his mother is hiding a Jewish girl in his dead sister's room. Mm-hmm. When he sees this girl, the girl that's clearly older, like probably close to like 7 to 10 years older, steals his knife, threatens him, and says, "If you tell on me, your mom's going to jail and killed, and so will you for harboring, a Jewish person."
Yeah,
which is true.
Mm-hmm.
And he as a smart kid goes to talk to like the whatchamacallit, the commander, the captain, who tells him the exact same thing. Like, anyone harboring a Jew will be killed.
Yeah.
So he agrees to protect her if he or she helps him write a book on Jews.
Yeah.
Which is so interesting because she's trying to explain to him we're the same, but he doesn't believe her because he's been so indoctrinated. So he starts telling her like clear to the audience lies. Like, oh, Jewish people can read your minds. Yeah,
they can eat. They eat like your kids or something like that. Or
what do you think this says about life?
You have to. I learned this a long time ago, but you got to learn different perspectives of everything, right? Like, it's always good to hear from the source's mouth than assuming certain things, right? You can read about it all you want, but until you really we're in a kind of privileged culture where there's many different races and everything like that. So we kind of get exposed to different cultures and everything.
But even with that, so many stereotypes exist, and
right?
and we see this all the time. Like, we see people, I don't want to say that. we see almost that people stick with their own cultures and races,
Yeah.
and that because of these stereotypes, right? Like, I mean, we see this in the fear towards some people.
Yeah.
You know, you hear a bombing happen, and then there's immediate stereotype that goes with that.
Yeah. No,
Which
it's sad.
which shouldn't be the case, but nevertheless it is.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're that different. What I think this says about life is people are so susceptible to stereotypes, to misinformation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I always think of where a lot of people that are more likely to believe in stereotypes. They're not going to be people from cities. They're going to be from more rural areas, right?
Yeah.
And there's a reason for this. When you are around people of all different races, you realize that, hey, we're actually similar than, you know, other people in our own culture and own race, right?
Yeah.
That we're not different. We're actually very similar. But here's the thing. If you don't know people of different culture, if you've never met a Muslim, if you've never met a black man, if you've never met someone who's Asian or Jewish or anything like that, guess what? The only thing you'll know about them is what you see on TV, what you read about in the newspaper.
Yeah.
This is why in the States so many people can believe that Mexicans are rapists.
Yeah.
This comes from this idea that, hell, if you live in the North or if you don't associate with Mexicans, well, maybe that must be true. Because in the movies, they're always like that. Yeah,
and it's sad that the misinformation kind of shows. It's sad, like, how do I say this? I'm very bad at I'm at a loss for words. But, like, it's sad that the information that's brought out is shown that to certain people, right? And yeah, you're not wrong in the sense that if you're like in a more rural area, you're just around people that are like you, think like you, act like you, believe the same things that you do, right? And they just kind of just think, wow, like this is how they really are, huh? This is what's going on, right?
Exactly, and it's I'm not gonna blame them because it's not their fault. Like this is not shaming those kind of people.
Yeah.
If you don't know it, it's not. Again, what you learn. This is why education is so important. And if you don't read, if you're not literate, if you're not someone who goes out there to do their own research, like you said,
Yeah.
World War II. I watched Midway, didn't like it, but I still read about it. You educate yourself. You learn a lot about this. But if people just watch something, and I'll say Midway, I think we talked last week, it was pretty fair to both sides. But if it made the Japanese look like horrible people, and that's all you know, that's the only time you've ever seen Japanese people, maybe in the back of your head that might exist, whether you want to believe it or not.
Subconsciously, right? It goes to your back of your head, and you're like, wow, so this is how they really were, huh?
Exactly, and this is the dangers of not being educated, and I do think it's important. I do think it's important to see other sides. You know what the biggest criticism of the first Avengers was in 2012?
What was it?
People in India complained because they only show when India is shown in movies, they only show the slums.
Oh,
like Slumdog Millionaire, the Avengers, right? You only show like, oh, India is this country of garbage.
Yeah, no.
That's the mentality. But think about it.
Yeah, no.
Name me an India movie where they show the beautiful culture. Like Hinduism is like this religion that's full of color, right? Diwali. Think of all the festival of lights.
The Diwali. That's a beautiful festival, right?
Hinduism offers. It's like a lot of religions aren't colorful. Hinduism is very colorful, but we don't see that in India. Like go to like a Hindu temple, you'll see like all of like their like the altars to their gods are beautifully decorated. But we don't see that.
Yeah, we just see the slums and
again, this is why education is important. So I like this element to the movie. I like showing the misinformation and how like you can be indoctrinated to believe that they're villainous.
Yeah.
And that a human is capable of reading minds. Which, by the way, let's be honest, that would be cool.
Yeah. But you'd be scared because you can't do it.
That's also true.
They can think my every thought.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if that was true though, like, let's say for argument's sake, it was true that there were a group of people. I'm not going to pick a race, but like there were a group of people that could do that. I would totally want one.
What do you mean? Like own one? No.
I want to be friends with one. Like, I want one like to hang around. Like that would be awesome.
Yeah, I'd feel weird. Like, what if I thought a weird thought? And then
I'm
they're
sure
like,
they're used to that though. Like
Yeah.
our brain thinks like millions of things every
yeah,
day.
right, that's true.
What part of the interaction between Elsa and JoJo did you particularly like the most?
Just liked, I liked the development between just the first interaction, or just
In general, in the entire movie, like
I like the fact that the more and more he interacted, he started realizing I kind of like this girl, and it's not as bad as I think. Like, see, these people. I love the thing is like the Nazis that he tried so hard to be a part of treat him like total dirt, and this girl's actually treating me like a person. That's probably the most interesting aspect to me, right? So he started liking her more and feeling more attached to her, and more defensive of her as well.
oh, absolutely. Wants to by the end of the movie, wants to protect her.
Yeah.
The scene that I really liked of the interaction is, to get her back, or to get initially, he writes this letter
Yeah.
that the boy that she liked, her fiance, like had died and like didn't like her anymore. Was
Yeah, he went to
cheating.
go cheat with a different girl.
Yeah, and you can see like she reads the letter and she's clearly hurt by this. And
Yeah.
she goes back into her little hiding space, and you can see JoJo is guilty. He feels guilty for what he did.
Yeah.
So he writes a second letter apologizing, and like Elsa knows like that JoJo's writing it, but it's this idea that he feels guilty. You really see
Yeah.
the humanness of this. So I liked all their interactions. Like
Yeah,
they
no,
became
it was
brother and sister.
Yeah, it was a good. I liked the scene. They were good scenes.
So we have Elsa. Anything else you want to talk about with JoJo? Like I feel like
No, that's pretty. Yeah, that's pretty much it. You know, at the end he makes the right decision. He starts helping.
so Elsa is this Jewish girl. She's under protection of Rose, who's JoJo's mother. She lies to JoJo about Jewish people.
Yeah, trolls him a little bit.
Trolls him, but again, she can't tell the truth.
Yeah.
Another really cool interaction is when they're talking about like Jewish people compared to like non-Jewish people, like or German people. She's like, we have Beethoven, and he's like, we have Mozart or something. Like I don't.
Yeah, Einstein.
And then I forget what he says, but goes back and forth. And I like how she says Moses. Why doesn't she just she has the ultimate card? Do you know that, right?
Yeah, because he kept mentioning him too, right?
Just Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus is Jewish.
Right.
Everyone forget that? He's Jew.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know,
Mhm.
kind of important one if you're Christian.
That's so true.
Just it's unbelievable. Like it's just it's unbelievable to a 10-year-old that she could be telling the truth and Adolf Hitler could be lying to her.
Yeah.
10-year-olds are told by their teachers, by their heroes, things, and they just believe them.
Mhm.
Like, why wouldn't they?
Yeah, you trust them, right? You don't. You never like you think as a child you think they have no reason to lie. There's no point in like lying, right? They just tell them the truth because everybody's the ultimate good and everyone has the best interest in your mind. You know, you're naive at the time.
And you know what the craziest thing about race is?
What?
It's socially constructed.
Yeah.
We've constructed what race is.
Yeah.
Like think about it. What race are you?
I'm black.
Is black a race or is that your ethnicity?
Oh, I guess I'm Jamaican.
Now I ask you a question.
I'm Canadian, Jamaican, Canadian.
Okay, Canadian, Jamaican, yeah, but you would trace back to Jamaica. But I ask you this. If I asked you where your great-great-great-great-grandparents are from, where are they going to be from?
Africa.
Africa's a country.
I mean, continent. I don't know. I don't know what country they would be from.
But that's my point, right? Like,
Yeah.
Think of it from like a Croatian perspective.
Yeah.
If you're our age, you would not have been born in Croatia
Yeah.
because Croatia didn't exist. It was
Yeah.
Yugoslavia.
Mhm.
100 years before that, 101 years ago, Yugoslavia didn't exist. It was part of Austria-Hungary.
Yeah.
150 years ago, Austria-Hungary was just Austria. And so on and so forth, right?
Yeah.
We construct our race.
Or the Byzantine Empire.
Exactly.
Everything like that. Or
Like
the Ottoman
Italy
Empire.
didn't become a country until 1861.
Yeah. Before that, you were Roman or
No,
some
we would
other
have been
thing.
part of different. We would have just been like the Kingdom of Two Sicilies or the the Torino Empire, whatever
Yeah.
that is in the north, or you would have had part of France that conquered it in Napoleon's time. Like the point is, like, your race a lot of times is socially constructed. So I don't know, like there's something to be said about this, I think.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I think that Thomasin McKenzie is phenomenal as Elsa. I think she really brings like this, like suffering kid. To life.
And it's not like very like you can tell that she's been through a lot, but she doesn't show. She's still trying to stay strong because of something ScarJo's character told her, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's you can really see that in her like face and eyes, and then sometimes she lets a little bit slip, which is great. Like you see her like vulnerability come out just a little tiny bit in some clips and some interactions, which is pretty brilliant for that considering her age. Like how old is she?
I think she's 19 in real life and 17 in the movie.
Wow, some people just got the talent, natural talent.
No, she's good. I think we're going to see more from her. Then we have Rose, the mother. She's very protective of her son. She's anti-hate. She's in the German resistance. She's fighting for a free Germany, and because of that, she will be killed.
Yes.
Hung. And Jojo will see this.
Yeah.
And scar him.
Yeah, that was a very heavy scene. Like I don't even know.
He goes back and stabs
Elsa because he
Elsa.
blames Elsa. It's
Yeah.
like it's her fault.
But it's not. Like immediately he realizes he's
it's
wrong.
not her fault. Yeah, he just stops himself.
Anything
It's
you want to
just
talk
so-
about the mom? Like,
It's good. It's great. Good character. I like the interaction between her and Jojo. She's trying to teach Jojo that like hate's not the answer and the war is bad. Like look what Hitler's doing. Like and at this point, it's also the thing is like the kids all think Germany's winning. They're like, yeah, Germany's gonna win. We're the best, and everything like that.
but all the adults know,
Yeah.
but they can't say it
Mm-hmm.
because that would get them killed.
Yeah, which is insane, right? It's just I don't know. What a time! What a world! What a time that period was, right?
Absolutely. Do you think ScarJo did a good job?
Yeah, she's great.
My favorite scene is when she pretended to be the dad. So like Jojo's
Yeah.
like, I want my dad here, and she goes to the fireplace and gets like the
It's,
ash, puts the beard on, and plays both roles.
Yeah,
I really like.
yeah,
that
and it's
scene.
just nice in the whole family moment, and honestly, just like you really felt that she really cared for her kid, and that's why the one scene was so powerful. Like when he sees his mother, like
and we just see her feet.
yeah,
We don't even see. They never really show.
yeah. As soon as I see the feet, I'm like, that's why it focused on her dancing when she was like dancing on the feet. Like it kept focusing on like, why is it just showing her feet? I'm like, maybe I guess she's not really dancing. And then later you're like, oh, okay, that's why. Those are her dancing shoes, which is, yeah, what a powerful scene. I hate that scene, but love it at the same time because it really made me feel. Not a lot of movies can do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have Captain Klenzendorf, who runs the camp, and then he's also in charge of the defense of the city.
Mm-hmm.
He's an alcoholic who's clearly gay. He's going to help Elsa in the movie when the Gestapo come to Jojo's house and see her.
Yeah.
She gives the wrong date. She pretends to be Jojo's sister who's dead. No one claimed it, but gives the birth date 6 days later.
Mm-hmm.
So he helps her. He also saves Jojo in the end when Jojo's wearing the uniform because the Fräulein puts it on him.
Yeah.
And the Russians are going to kill them all. He takes it off. He calls him a Jew and spits in his face. So Jojo's able to survive.
Yeah.
He is the most interesting character, I think, in the movie.
That's what I was just about to say that.
But here you go, right? And this isn't just a German thing. Like in England, we see with Alan Turing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't be gay. It
Yeah.
wasn't acceptable. So you have to pretend to be someone you're not.
Yeah.
And if you don't play the game of the Nazis, you will be killed anyway.
Yeah.
I think this is a really important idea to understand. Like not all Germans are Germans who fought for the Nazis are not bad people. Not all of them, at least.
He wanted to fight for his country, not for like Nazis or anything.
And then
like
in
that.
defense of your city, you still want to protect your city, right? Like it's still important.
You can't just be like, oh, you know what? Here, go ahead, just take everything, right? It's like he was like that's the thing about war, right? Most people that are fighting in the wars aren't bad, and it's not like was the SS or anything like that.
Yeah,
right?
or the
Like,
Gestapo, right? Those
Yeah.
are like the real indoctrinated people,
Yeah.
right?
mhm.
So I thought he did a real.
Most people are just children that knew no better.
And Sam Rockwell did a phenomenal job playing him.
Yeah, he's great. Really.
And you can tell even when JoJo's giving like him information, he's like he's you can just I don't know what it is about his eyes, the way he's
Yeah.
the way his body language is, but he doesn't buy into what he's saying. He's like, yeah, sure, JoJo.
Yeah, it's great. He just like laughs, plays it off. He's like, "Oh, this is just a kid," and he's just like, "Yeah, you're right, JoJo," but he's just like, and you can tell he pretty much knows what's going on the whole time, but he just lets him.
Yeah. No,
right.
Then you have JoJo's best friend Yorkie. He's also 10 years old. He's also a member of the Hitler Youth.
Yeah.
But at the end of the movie, he has to go and fight on the front lines.
Yeah, and crappy, like not even a real jacket, just something made out of paper.
Yeah, what does this say about the period?
Yeah, period. They're desperate. They're losing, so start sending kids in. There's the one time the one guy, or one of the kids that made fun of JoJo, he's yelling at JoJo. He's like, "I'm going to war, JoJo. I'm going to war." Like he's bragging about it because they still think. Even that guy, he's still brainwashed as well because he thinks, "Oh, Germany's winning. I'm going to go help win the war. This is going to be easy."
War is a great place to make a name for myself.
Yeah.
So it's just fascinating. It says just fascinating that again. This is the thing about indoctrination of children. Like they don't know any better.
Yeah.
If you tell them that war is great, that's what they're going to believe.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, we have the imaginary Hitler, who Waititi plays.
Yeah.
And he's basically, as we talked about, designed to kind of help JoJo throughout this movie.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on him?
Just good. Taika Waititi, he's really funny as an actor, right? I feel love his role as Korg though in the Ragnarok, but he played a good role. Hitler's pretty much just like his Nazi subconscious, because later on in the movie, he's like, "Are you catching feelings for this girl? Like, what's going on here? Like, you gotta catch yourself, buddy, right?" Like, it's him trying to fight with his ideology at the same time.
It's like, you told me to do it. You told me. I did, didn't I?
Right.
Is there a highlight of his role in this film? There's a couple doozy scenes.
There's a bunch of great scenes.
Which ones did you really?
I like that end where he gets kicked out. Like he kicks him, he falls out the window really far. Obviously the scene before the grenade was pretty funny. He's like, "Yeah, your face is really ugly," stuff like that. Just getting him hyped up or making plans for everything like that. Just watching him sit down and watching what his mom's doing. He was like, "What's that? Like, what's your mom doing?" It's all very interesting to me.
There's really three that stood out for me. The first is after he's been hit by this grenade, he's going to the hospital, and Hitler looks at his face and faints.
Yeah.
That one. Mm-hmm. The one where he's sleeping in JoJo's bed and be a real friend would keep your bed warm. and calling her creepy.
Yeah.
When he's like an adult in the bed. It's just, and the last one is the end where he's JoJo finds out Hitler shot himself in the head, so he comes back with the bullet wound in the head.
Oh yeah, I didn't even take that in.
But I did like that. Yeah.
And he did a good act in the rage speech that he had, when he started changing and having the rage, that stood out to me as well. Okay.
That's really it for the characters. Is there anything else you wanted to chat about? I have a couple questions if you don't have any.
No, I don't have any other questions.
So I have really three that I really want to talk about. Do you find this movie controversial?
I can see. So this is the thing about educate. I can see. I remember there was a big deal with it at the time, and people were wanting to boycott the movie. But like I said, this is art, right? You can tell art however you want to kind of tell it, and the way. That's kind of why I was kind of hesitant, because I'm like, oh, is this gonna be a tasteless film? But the way it's used is brilliant. And I feel like people owe it to themselves to kind of see it, in my opinion.
See, I don't find it controversial at all.
I don't after watching it, I don't think so.
Oh yeah, that's why I asked the question. I don't think it is a little bit, and I think it's important you see another side of the story. Here's the thing: if you don't want this to happen again, we talk about World War II, it's never happened again.
Yeah.
I hate to break this to you, but genocide has happened since World War II.
Lots of
Rwanda,
genocide.
Yugoslavia, Sri Lanka, Myanmar right now. There's 4. I'm guaranteed there's more than 4.
Yeah. There's a lot
You
more.
think racism ain't a problem in the world? Go look at the States. Go look at South Africa. There's racism issues. Canada, I shouldn't even say that. We in Canada, we have racial problems as well.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. It starts with the youth. It starts with how you treat your youth. And this movie is a great example of how what you can do if you just tell or how you can manipulate kids into hatred.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's controversial. I think this is a very important movie. There's no raw Nazism at all in this movie. It's an anti-Nazi movie.
Yeah.
Every character in
makes
this
fun
movie,
of them all the time.
every character in this movie, except for maybe Rebel Wilson's character, who we didn't talk about, is anti-Nazi.
Yeah.
Other than, okay, the imaginary Hitler isn't. But
Yeah,
like that, of the real characters. Like,
yeah.
Anyway,
I get your point.
what's your favorite scene in this film?
I'm not gonna lie, I like the scene where he gets blown up. That was a funny scene to me. Also like the scene where just the discuss. Pretty much every scene with Elsa and Jojo. Those scenes were great.
My favorite scene is when the Gestapo come to his house and they're all Hail Hitler. They have
Oh,
to
yeah, I
Hail Hitler
remember
to
that.
every single one of them.
Yeah.
And then after they do that and they all Hail Hitler each other, then the captain walks in and is like, "What'd I miss? Oh, I hailed Hitler, he hailed Hitler, we all..."
Yeah.
And they just... Oh my! I just think it's so funny, and again, it just shows you like this kind of stupidity behind it as well.
Yeah.
So I think we've talked a lot about the positives of this movie. The one thing I did not like is the ending, where Jojo pretty much to Elsa lies to her that the Nazis won the war,
Yeah.
and then says, "Let's go outside, and if you trust me." And then she realizes that the Nazis actually lost the war. She slaps Jojo and they just start dancing. I did not like this ending at all. What are your thoughts on the ending?
I was okay with the endings. He did say what was the first thing. What didn't you like about the ending?
I felt that like it didn't answer any of the questions I'm going to have after the fact. First of all, why did he lie? Okay, I get why he lied. He lied because
he didn't want her to leave, and he's 10 years old.
Exactly, but eventually, he never actually says that I lied.
She knew he lied, though. It's like it was implied.
But she only knew the lie when she walked out of the house, though.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, at least wait a day. Like, if you're gonna lie, fine, wait a day. Not like, oh, the Nazis won the war. And then be like, oh, but if you want to leave, I can help you get escape. Like,
yeah, but then again, he's 10, right? You're not planning that far ahead.
I know. I just exactly. I didn't. It's not that I hated I just didn't like the ending.
Yeah.
And again, it just danced like.
I was okay with the dance because it's pretty much they're like, okay, what's the first thing you do when you leave? She said, I'm gonna dance.
That's true.
She danced. She freed. Like, there's not much more to the story. There is, right? They're not gonna be together. We know what's gonna happen. They won the war. They're just gonna live their life.
It's true.
Do you want a little ending crawl that says, "Hey, they lived happily
together"? No, I didn't
together.
need an ending crawl. I just needed more closure. So I just wanted a little bit of closure in the ending. I don't know what I would have done. That's all I needed.
I feel like I had closure for that film. I was okay with it.
I don't know. Maybe have a scene like 5 years later, and then like them in Paris together. I don't know what I needed. I just needed something.
Yeah. I think you're just in the minority here.
Oh, I'm definitely in the minority. I bet you a lot of people like the ending.
Yeah.
If I had it, look, I haven't said anything bad about the movie. This is my constructive criticism. This is what I did not enjoy.
This is, everyone's fair to have like a little bit of a nitpick.
All right, what do you give this movie out of 10?
I'm asking you first.
I'm giving it a 9 out of 10, and the one mark is for the ending.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this. I think this is the first time I've done this on the podcast, other than Endgame. But it's going to be a 10 out of 10 for me.
Nice.
I really enjoyed this film. Really very interesting. I'm a sucker for dark comedies as well. Like, that's my favorite type of comedy because, like, it's funny, but it also makes you think and everything like that. Like, that's kind of the route, like, South Park's going. I'm a big fan of Rick and Morty and everything like that, right? So, This is pretty much right in my wheelhouse.
It
And
definitely makes you think.
yeah, right. So
So just once again, before we move on, you're welcome.
thank you. I know, right? there's always that one movie. Coco was last year.
Yo,
And
I
this
made
movie,
you. Oh, I'm not. I know.
In this movie, it's JoJo. This movie.
I know. Believe me, I know. I think Coco was 2 years ago though.
Oh, Coco was 2 years. Oh,
I think so because I don't think we podcasted it last year. And it was a December
yeah,
movie.
yeah, true.
Okay. All right, you ready to move on to Ford versus Ferrari?
Yeah.
Now,
Let's get on this.
for those of you who are not watching us on YouTube, our producer is Team Ferrari. Definitely, if you
Yeah.
can look at our setup, it's all Ferrari. He is a big Ferrari guy. Were you Team Ford or were you Team Ferrari in this film?
I'm not gonna lie. I was Team Shelby. Okay.
Okay, Ford. Now you're Team Ford.
No, I was Team Shelby. I'm not. Listen, I didn't like any of the suits in Ford.
Any
I just
of the
liked.
suits?
I only liked one suit. We'll get to that. But it just like I said earlier in the podcast, the executives making stupid decisions and everything just for because they think they know better than the guy that actually is making everything.
All right. What are your opening thoughts on Ford versus Ferrari?
I really enjoyed this as well. I have a few little things I'll probably say at the end that I didn't really fully enjoy, right? But overall, really good film. I really enjoyed this. Obviously, you got Christian Bale, Matt Damon. I usually that sets a little bit of high expectations. You
And
know?
Christian Bale.
Yeah, that's why I said Matt Damon and Christian Bale.
Oh yeah, sure.
So it sets the high expectations there. I'm a big fan of I really like race movies about cars. That I find Rush it was very interesting to me, and this one got me interested. I'm starting to more and more kind of get into. I know this isn't Formula One, but I'm starting to really turn and get really interested in that whole concept and starting to learn in the history of that and everything like that. So, and this kind of helped put that step forward as well for me as well. So, yeah, very, very much enjoyed this film. Great acting altogether and nice little story and touch of Ford versus Ferrari.
I love this film. I think this film did a great job with a lot of things. For example, it told the stories of Carroll Shelby and Ken Miles. Mm-hmm. I think it had some of the best car sequences they've ever done, and these are really shot. There's no green screen with anything. I thought it was very well done. And I thought it did a great job keeping audiences' attention through the 2.5 hours of the film.
That is very true.
It didn't feel long. I liked a lot, but it starts with the acting. Christian Bale, phenomenal.
Yeah, great role.
The little mannerisms that he had for Ken Miles. The man, the anger, when he's drinking his little cup of coffee and just standing straight. I loved it. Matt Damon was great in it as well. They both very believable. Car sequences felt real. I was at the edge of my seat through most of this film.
Yeah.
And educational. I think we've all seen the scene where the three Fords at Le Mans are crossing the finish line together. I've seen it, but I never know the story that goes behind it.
Yeah.
And this was I really learned a lot of this film, and it made me do so much other reading after it was done. And a movie that can make me do that is always good. Things I didn't like, not very much. There's a few scenes that I thought were
the little bit extra.
Yeah. Some things that I can't even control in the movie. They're just history stuff. So we'll get into that as we go through. All right. So let's deep dive into this.
Yeah.
So this movie starts with Carroll Shelby. It begins with him winning the Le Mans in 1959, and soon after, he has a heart problem and can never race again. And then he decides to start his own race team. What are your thoughts on James Mangold's decision to start the movie here?
So I liked the scene where it's had the Le Mans, but I guess this is more of me. This is one of the scenes I actually didn't like at first. Was that the scene afterwards, oh, you can never race again. So I thought this was going to be a reoccurring problem in the film. And spoiler alert, it's doesn't really show up much.
Not even a little bit.
Yeah, doesn't show up that much at all. So that was one of my little things that I didn't really feel like was very like it was important to know, but I guess it was just thrown in there just to kind of know. But like then after that, it doesn't get brought up. You see him take pills a couple times, but that's about it.
See, I disagree completely. I think this is a very important start. I think it's very important that he starts here because it builds the foundation for the entire movie. It sets up the story. This is the reason why Ford's going to come to Shelby. This is the reason why he is an expert in the field, right? He is not only a manufacturer or a developer of cars. He was a racer too. He
No, I
knows
meant
what to look for.
sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. Like I would like the Le Mans scene, him winning the Le Mans. I agree that scene should be there. Just not the heart scene.
But you need to know that, right?
Why, he had to quit.
Because even there's a scene in the airport, or not the airport, at the first race that he goes to. It's like, is it really true that you're a coward? Like, why did you quit? Like, that's something that he would always have to answer. Like, how do you go from winning Le Mans to not racing again?
Yeah.
So I think it is important to have that. It's
important. It's good for the history aspect. For like in terms of the flow of the movie, it doesn't get brought up again. So that's why.
I think it's just for the
It's just
so
for
the
us to
audience
know the
knows why he doesn't
history.
race again.
Yeah, that's
like,
what I've.
Because like I have a question. If you like, let's look at it from this perspective. If the first scene is him winning Le Mans, and the next scene is him coaching, do you not have a question that why isn't he racing anymore? Like that'd be my first question I'd have.
Yeah, no, that would be my Like I said, I agree. You know what? You're right. I think it is more important now that I think about it.
Like, cause I mean, that'd be my first question. Wait, why aren't you racing in this race?
you put it in better context. I felt like I'm like, why? Because it just never got brought up again.
See, when you said you didn't like it, I assumed it was that you didn't like any of it.
Oh no, I like the first part.
If you have that middle, you need that. It is 10 seconds, but it also shows like when we do see him at the race with that Ken Miles is gonna win. He's like been drinking at night, right? Like he's. Like, you can tell, like, he's got demons because of it.
Yeah.
And Ford is going to give him a purpose, which we'll talk about. So that's Carroll Shelby. We're also then introduced to Ken Miles. And we meet Ken Miles, who is running his own mechanic shop, who clearly knows cars. Yeah. And he's calling out this rich dude who doesn't know how to run a muscle car. And he's so nasty to him.
Yeah, it's great.
What are your thoughts on how he's introduced?
Loved it. Was introduced. I didn't even know he had like the accent. I was like, it threw me off. I'm like, oh, a little bit of an accent here, right? But yeah, Christian Bale is great. You know, kind of just kind of giving it to the guy, and the guy's like, "What? You got a problem with me, buddy?" You know, he's like, "You don't know how to drive the car, right?" like, it's like the car is fine. You just don't know it's the driver, right? And you can tell like clearly he has a talent for like fixing cars and everything like that. Like that man was talented.
Oh yeah, but no, the best part is like he's just working under another car, and this guy comes yelling at him, and he's just like so calm about it. Like he's calling him out, but so calmly. And he goes to grab like his tea or his coffee or whatever it is, and he's just as he's doing it, he's just kind of like standing there and just sipping his coffee or tea. It's I think it's brilliant.
Yeah,
I liked it a lot, and I like how it's like his relationship with his wife and son. Like,
he's a big family man.
Mm-hmm. And we also find out right after he's a great racer because he's going to win the race.
Yeah.
Now, this race didn't happen in the history of it, but it's an important scene for me because it shows how good of a racer he is.
Yeah, it shows that he's not only can he fix cars and be a mechanic, he also knows how to race them.
And it's an important sequence because it explains what he's capable of.
Yeah.
Both knowledge-wise and...
Also, it shows the reoccurring problem as well that he's a bit of an asshole.
Yeah, a bit. So the I guess the official comes and says your trunk won't shut, so we're gonna have to
disqualify your team.
And he just yells at him, and he
really
kind of like takes a hammer and hits out the trunk,
and then smashes it, and then he's like.
And meanwhile, while this is going on, Porsche was like going to sign him.
Yeah, but they're like, you know, maybe not.
So I think it shows the three important things of his character.
Yeah. Very
smart with cars, got it, emotional, and a great driver.
Yeah.
While this race is going on, the IRS are foreclosing on his shop. So a disheartened Ken Miles decides he's going to quit racing.
Yeah.
And be more of
a family man or like a. But you can't quit your passion, your dream, baby.
The third person we're introduced to in this film is Henry Ford II, who is the grandson of the great Henry Ford. And sales are down because this young generation doesn't want to buy a Ford. They want the nice little sexy car.
Yeah.
So he wants some new ideas. And Lee Iacocca, he proposes that Ford goes into racing because Ferrari, the household name in racing, they are winners. So if you want to sell more cars, you want to be sexy, you got to win because winners are sexy.
Yeah. And they're fast cars, you know.
So Ford's like, this is going to take forever. And Lee Iacocca's like, Ferrari is going out of business.
They're going bankrupt.
They're bankrupt. They spent all their money perfecting a race car. They got no money left.
Yeah.
So they're going to buy Ferrari, or Ford goes to buy Ferrari. And at the 11th hour, after months of negotiation, Enzo Ferrari backs out of the deal and signs a more lucrative deal with Fiat. Now, did you know Ferrari went bankrupt?
No, I didn't know that.
No clue.
But I'm not surprised because
Not even.
yeah,
No idea.
handcrafted like vehicles and everything like that. That's an expensive.
But they still do that. It's not that it hasn't changed. But it's this idea that like this Ferrari spends like $100 million a year now on their racing team.
Wow.
Back in those days, they were spending more money on the racing team than anyone else. They were spending more money on racing than they were on what they were producing.
Yeah.
Basically, he sold cars to fund his racing team.
Yeah.
That's basically what it was. Now, I really like this scene. The way it was filmed with the photographer and the delaying tactics that Ferrari was using. How about you?
Oh, I loved it. This is great. And then just to sell to like Fiat. I guess is Fiat Italian as well?
Fiat is Italian, yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's why he's wanted to sell to the Italian, right? And then he's just like one of my favorite scenes is Ferrari just giving it to Coca, John Berthel's character, greatest actor in the world.
And he basically tells them like, "Oh, you Americans, you're ugly. You have ugly cars, ugly factories. You go tell Henry Ford II that he is not Henry Ford."
Yeah.
And this aside, when Iacocca comes back and tells Ford all of these things, Ford says, "Okay, we're gonna make our own racing team. You bring the best engineers around. You bring the best everything. Money's no object. We are going to beat them."
Yeah.
Does this make Ford out to be very petty?
Yeah, it kind of looks a little bit petty.
Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. All right, you got money. You're there to listen. You put months of effort into Ford into that deal. Okay, forget the comments.
Yeah,
you put months into making this deal with Ferrari. Okay, you've wasted your resources to do that, and Ferrari was just sitting there delaying. He was always going to sign with Fiat. He was using this in he brought in that photographer to up the price to sell his company in other places.
Yeah.
All right. So I understand there's some pettiness, but at the end of the day, worthy of it.
Yeah.
So Lee Iacocca goes to Carroll Shelby and asks for some advice because he's one of the only Americans ever to win the Le Mans race. So he gets the help of Carroll to create a car, and Carroll enlists the help of Ken Miles.
Yeah.
However, Leo Beebe, he does not like Ken Miles. He thinks he's too hot-tempered, and he's not a Ford man.
Yeah, because of one certain comment that he made.
Does that
Which is a great comment, though.
What comment?
The one where he's telling him all the dimensions that he has to fix, and then he's like, after that, I'd still buy a Chevy Impala. I was like, wow. That was just like, I love that line. There was a lot of great lines and good punch one-liners, just straight jabs to certain characters.
Mm-hmm. Does this idea of not being a quote-unquote Ford man have a real place, or should it have a real place in business?
Nah, man, you got to get the best to do the best of the best. Stop being petty.
And in a lot of
get personal.
But the thing is, a lot of times the most brilliant people are not quote unquote the
brand person, whatever brand they're working with.
I always think like Sheldon Cooper. I know he's a fictional character, or like Gregory House, right? Like if you're brilliant, like you might be so cocky and arrogant that you don't realize, or maybe you do realize that you're better than everyone else. But there's something to be said about that, right?
Yeah, but he was also being rude to his kid, right? He's like, no, don't touch that. This is a masterpiece. And
Absolutely.
everything like that, right? So you kind of like we know he's a family man. He's going to defend his child. So.
Oh, you're right, too. I'm just talking about in general, though. Like, if you're not a Ford man, if you're not that cookie cutter kind of image, like, it's so boring. There's no creativity in that.
Yeah.
Creative people tend to be out-of-the-box thinkers.
Yeah.
So you have to let them
do what they got to do.
Exactly.
I love Bill Belichick.
Absolutely. But you laugh, but like those kind of people, they don't think like everyone else, and they're not going to give you the same kind of reactions like everyone else.
Yeah.
So for me, I think that Lee Beebe is dead wrong on this.
Yeah.
In the movie,
and he's also like, I'm going to go back a little bit, but like when Henry Ford is talking to Ken Miles, he mentions this because Shelby Ford thinks like more like Ken Miles' side, right? He's also quote unquote genius in the field as well, right? And he's like, he has the brilliant line is like, so we're gonna be making a car, and some suit's gonna gonna go please some other boss. It's gonna please another boss who they all hate you because they don't think like you and they can never be you. And then as soon as immediately, literally probably like couple scenes later we see it already in action, like right away.
But that's the thing, right? It's so. This is the problem with a lot of business. And you have so many people. When you set up this bureaucracy under and everyone's reporting to everyone. Everyone wants to be in charge to justify their job, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes you just gotta let the best people do their job.
Yeah. You gotta let the creatives do the creatives.
But there's a fear that if you don't justify it yourself, that you'll never. Yeah. You have to put your idea, your stamp on it. But nevertheless, Miles and Shelby they work out a bunch of different kinks in it, but they only have 90 days. And before Le Mans, does anything stick out at you when they're in this scene when they're training, like at the airport when they're?
No, not really. You pretty much know that they're experts and they kind of know what they're doing.
Yeah, then they're just watching the technological aspects to it. They they get like different kinds of engines, stuff I don't really understand. But either way, all we know is Ken Miles breaks some track records. That kind of stuff. But on the eve of the race, BB informs Shelby that Miles is not welcome to come. We don't get to see the race. But the race goes as Miles predicts. None of the Fords finish. It's an absolute disaster. Mm-hmm. Ford is furious. He's embarrassed. And he calls Shelby into his office.
Yeah.
And Shelby, right to his face, says, well, here, you know what the problem is? That little red folder that you got there, it went through 5 folders before it made it into your hands. And not including the probably 21 other people that saw that folder before you. Mm-hmm. There's too many cooks in the kitchen. People change drivers, etc. He called out Ford right to his face.
Yeah.
Do you like how Shelby handled?
Oh, I loved it.
Loved it.
I was like, that's what he said. They don't like him because they don't think like him, and most people are scared to kind of say that right to their face, right?
Yeah. Because he also is not a yes person, right?
Yeah.
I feel like, do you think? This is one of my questions later on, but we can address it now, I think. Do you think that Henry Ford was portrayed good in this movie or well in this movie?
Not the best.
I thought it was portrayed horribly. He wants yes men around him. He pretends like he wants people with ideas, but you get the idea that when there's an idea that comes, he doesn't let an idea bloom.
Yeah, he just kind of like, oh, this is the idea. Let me just put my corporate meddling into it. And the problem with corporate meddling is usually the product becomes crap.
Yeah.
You see it all the time in movies.
Stagnant.
Sometimes games, like, it's just, like, that's not going to make money. Let's not do that, right?
That could be a little too controversial. Let's not do that.
Yeah, like, look at The Lion King. That didn't want to get made. They're like, let's put all our money to Pocahontas. And what's the more legendary movie?
Pocahontas, no? What's the Lion King? You never heard of it.
Right? And that was like the B team. So there you go. So it's corporate meddling all the time kind of ruins everything.
Well,
like,
yeah.
not ruins everything, but sometimes it's not
But-
the most creative way
But
to
you
go.
see it all the time, right? Like
Yeah.
I always think of like even Star Trek as an example, right? Like the original Star Trek, like Gene Roddenberry, the original series only lasted 3 years, and he basically blamed NBC. So when he made the Next Generation, he said, "I'm not going with the network. I'm producing it myself."
Oh,
And he never went back to the networks, at least in his lifetime.
yeah.
Because he thought that the executives didn't allow the creativity to branch. Seinfeld almost fell through the same thing, right? It got canceled twice.
Yeah.
Well, not canceled, but like it looked like it was going to get canceled twice before they gave it a shot. They don't let these things breathe.
Yeah, that's the thing. Even another guy, this is going into games, but Hideo Kojima had wars with Konami, right? He wanted to put more. They would really limit all his creativity and everything like that, so they kind of had a falling out. He left and signed with Sony, and now Sony lets him go free reigns, right? So it happens all the time in business, right?
I
That's
know.
the thing.
It gotta be controversial. We live in 2019. Controversy is bad, but controversy is supposed to be good.
Yeah, gets the people talking.
Gets people talking. And you look at, like, I always think of like TV shows like Married with Children or All in the Family that were controversial. Well, they became the new norms, right?
Yeah,
Will and Grace, like they're controversial shows, but they push forward the envelope.
yeah. It changes for the better usually.
Yeah. All right. So we got more testing. Shelby goes begging back to Ken to come back and
Have a
they
funny
have
fight scene.
Was this scene needed though?
It wasn't super needed.
This
I
is-
wasn't like, whoa. It was okay. Like, that's a scene. That was another scene where I'm like, whatever. Like, that's okay. They're fighting.
I thought that one scene they could have cut, but
Yeah.
I mean, again, that's a huge nitpick.
Yeah.
But if you're asking me if it's a necessary scene,
No, it's
I'm
not
fine.
necessary, but it can still stay in there. I wasn't like, no, this is
yeah,
outrageous.
yeah.
Get this out of
It's
my
funny.
face.
It's
like,
it's some good comedic elements that
Yeah.
that break up the next 15 minutes of the movie that are all like science and
yeah,
technologically bound.
right.
So of the next 10 to 15, 20 minutes of the film, we get some testing.
Yeah.
Is there any scenes that merit talking about up till Daytona?
Did they show the brakes, like the brake?
That
crash?
would be the brake crash.
Yeah,
Where which really happened,
yeah,
and the brakes caught fire, and Miles was barely able to get out.
yeah. And then I'm not gonna lie, his son, like that scene, like the way the kid played, like he looked devastated. I was like, wow, like yeah, that kid's been in a couple of other movies. I think he was in Wonder Kid or Wonder.
Yeah, he was not. He was the friend in Wonder.
Yeah, and I forget what other movie he was in, but yeah, that was the scene that really broke up to me. And I'm not gonna lie though, like seeing the brakes like get super red hot and on fire kind of looked pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
just for the lame aspects of me, but yeah.
So once again, BB gets his hands all into Mr. Ford's ears
Yeah.
and wants Miles out.
Mm-hmm.
So Shelby's able to manipulate a situation to get Ford into his car
Yeah.
and drive Ford around, scares him a little bit,
Yeah.
and makes a bet.
Yeah, I thought he was crying because of fear, but I guess he was crying tears of joy
Yeah, I think so.
because he's like, my father would crap his pants if he seen this car like this, right? He never thought he could have a car like
Yeah,
that.
he's been a suit his entire life.
Yeah.
He's been sheltered. So they make a bet. If the Daytona 24-hour race is coming up, if Miles wins at Daytona, Miles gets to race Le Mans.
Mm-hmm.
If Miles loses, you get forked out my company.
Yeah.
Is Shelby right to make this bet?
You kind of have to. High risk, low risk, right? Like I said, suits always get it in between. And I feel like the only reason why Leo has a job is because, he's sometimes when they're in the bathroom, he goes with Ford into the bathroom and kind of gives him the good old 1-2, and then he comes back.
Look, my thing is all about Daytona. Daytona was a great sequence,
Yeah.
but it was completely fictionalized.
Okay.
This never happened. In fact, it was Miles that had Ford in the car.
I
And
figured
that
it was Miles, yeah.
Miles won Daytona by like 4 laps. It
Wow.
wasn't even close. This bet never happened. So, I mean, I liked it from a movie perspective because it pushed the plot on.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about this when we get into the next scene, which will be interesting as well from a historical perspective. But from this plot that they're creating, it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
From a historical perspective, it just
Never
doesn't work.
happened,
Never
but
happened.
they're just
But
trying to have some sort of like antagonist.
They make it exactly. They have some antagonist. BB is an antagonist. Again, makes Ford look a little bit bad. Shows Miles as kind of this hero. But even in that Daytona sequence, right? Like Ford's BB's cheating, quote unquote, right? He's got a NASCAR team changing the tires. He's got he's kind of manipulating the situation to win.
Yeah. And he still loses.
Yeah, and I love that scene where Damon walks out with like he writes on it with his like piece of chalk, like take it over 7,000.
Give him hell.
Give him hell. Go win the race, and he does. But again, great sequence.
Yeah, and he also kind of shows he has a feel for the car. He's like, I can feel it. She can go hard. Like we can push this car hard, right? And he can.
So he wins, and then we get Le Mans. Now this is clearly the best part of the movie.
Yeah.
So a couple things that happen. We can talk about what you want to talk about in a minute. The first lap, the door
wouldn't close.
Really happened, believe it or not. The brake change that was actually a thing that Ford did and there was someone who complained. The official came over and they did read the rule books to them. He had to pass Ferrari twice, and Ferrari did actually fall apart in the race. And then, of course, the Lily BB's idea as well. So, of all of the sequences, or all the moments in this race, not the outcome, I don't want to talk about that, what did you enjoy the most?
Like, obviously, I like the Ken just driving, racing with the one guy. They never said one word to each other, but you could tell they're always, like, their eyes, if looks can say 1,000 words, they're swearing at each other and saying a bunch of things to each other constantly. I love that. Just love the little like him just making fun with Ferrari. He just Shelby like chucks a little like bolt and they pick it up and like, oh my god, what's wrong with the thingy? Like, well, what did we do? We left a different part just to kind of mess with them. It was all just great, and they're racing for 24 hours. I didn't know they switched the drivers and everything like that.
I think it's every 4 hours.
Yeah.
My favorite moment is the attempted pass in the rain. Where he almost had him, and then he kind of like loses because the brakes go.
Yeah, because the brakes.
I really like that scene. I really liked, especially knowing that it actually happened, him having to race an entire lap without a door, or with the door not shutting, because you have to hold the door. Like you can't drive properly because like you lose the door, the race is over.
Yeah. He's like, I need the door.
I really like the realistic. I don't know about you, but I was at the edge of my seat this entire sequence. Like I was like, oh my god.
No, I was enjoying this a lot. It was amazing. And then it's also was interesting is like you see Leo's like he's pushing the car too hard, make him stop. He's pushing it too hard. And he's like, no, you gotta listen. Do you want to win or you want to lose?
Well, my thing always is this: like you gotta trust your drivers.
Yeah.
And like the one thing that Miles' character was really big on is knowing what the car speaks to you, right? Like that was kind of his thing, which is what made him a great driver.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you think of Lee Beebe's idea that all three Fords, because they were running 1, 2, 3, that they should cross the line at the same time?
I thought it was the dumbest idea in the world. Maybe because of the context of the movie, because I was watching the movie and I didn't know it beforehand. I figured that happened in real life because they only bring that up if that happened like an actual real life habit.
I remember the scene. I think it's a very powerful scene. I loved it. I loved the idea.
In a marketing perspective, it was great because like that's going to be immortalized and people are like, oh wow, 3 Fords finished at the same time. This is the new car, right? When I think about it in a marketing perspective and as a business perspective, it's smart. But as a competitor and as a racer, like if the competitive part of you, that is so dumb.
I mean, yes and no. Like as long as you win the race, and we can talk about that in a second. But like, if at this point, you assume that the person who crosses the finish line first wins, right?
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, like it's teamwork, right? And again, I didn't play a lot of individual sports growing up. I played a lot of team sports, and there's just something about camaraderie, right? That although you're running with a different you run your own car with a different pit crew, you're all part of the same Ford family. You're all the same team.
Yeah.
You know, you share ideas. You run with the same engine, right? Like you are supposed to be working together. So here you are, the three of them, the unity of it. I did like it. I mean, I get it in the end what happens. And
Yeah.
Miles gets robbed. We can talk about that in a moment. But I didn't disagree with Lee Beebe's idea.
I didn't like it.
And the scene, like, just like had you ever seen the scene of them crossing Le Mans together? Now,
No.
now that you've seen it, you probably have at some point. Like it's on
Yeah.
commercials and things like that.
Okay.
But yeah, I liked it. So Miles agrees to the decision, and all three Fords cross the line. However, because of the other team started farther back, Miles gets screwed over and ends up finishing second.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked this question: was Miles cheated?
Hell yeah,
I'm
he
talking
was.
about real life here, because the movie. Obviously, listen. The movie is just telling the story. This guy was up big. He slowed down. I think like if you're in that car, be like, no, I'm giving up the victory to him, or we're like.
Yeah. Did you think he knew that though?
Well, here's the thing. Do you think Lee Beebe knew? Shelby thinks that he did.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that Lee Beebe knew that if they came in together that the other driver would get the win?
I don't think so. I think he's not smart enough to do that. But if he did, then wow. But I thought you just wanted it for a pure
I think
marketing
too. He's a
perspective.
marketer. I agree. I don't want to put.
Even though I don't like the character at all, so that says a lot.
But I just don't understand how like I don't get it. Like it from the people who run this organization. I feel like you knew what happened here.
Yeah, that's a
like
pure
you knew who the real
technicality.
winner was. All right, that's a
Yeah.
technicality. Let's be honest here.
Yeah. If he really won the race, it would have crossed the finish line first.
Did you catch who the winner was?
McLaren.
Yeah, Bruce McLaren. Does that
Bruce
name ring a
McLaren.
bell for you?
Yeah, created the McLaren.
Yeah, he's gonna go on to start his own little company.
Yeah,
It's a pretty big company these days.
I know.
But if I'm Bruce McLaren, I'm sorry, and I mean, like, I get it. Like, you want to win, but like, listen, and I can only say this. I can't listen. I'm not the most educated on the topic, but in my mind, there's an asterisk beside your name.
Yeah.
I mean, he's dead. He's not gonna listen to this.
Yeah.
But there's an asterisk beside your name. Like from a sports perspective, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like forget the movie, just from a sports perspective, little asterisk.
Mm-hmm. Technicality.
Yeah. But in the end, Miles is grateful for a shot at being in Le Mans. They're gonna work for next year. However, during training a couple months later, Miles suffers an accident and he dies. And Shelby's very beat up about it.
Yeah.
Did we need this scene? Or would it have been better just to have it in the scroll at the end of the movie?
In the scroll. Yeah, that's the thing. That was another scene where I'm like, I don't know if we really needed this scene, but I still enjoyed it though. It just made like I enjoyed this scene, but I don't know if we needed it. That's my take on it. My fresh hot take.
I agree with you. I don't think we need it. I think I think the tone of this movie was very positive, and just having that negative ending.
Yeah,
and then you have like so it doesn't end there. Then we see like Shelby who's like tearing up about it.
And he's like, this guy doesn't know about the car.
And then he gives a wrench to his kid, and he gives a wave to his wife, and then he's just driving away.
Off.
I don't think that worked with the story they were telling.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really felt like it would have been better if the two of them it ended with them walking off and in the scroll.
Yeah, see what happens.
It was a tragedy. Like it was even done off screen, like not off screen, but we don't see the car crash, right? We just see the smoke and the fire.
Then everybody's running over, and then Matt Damon just stops and looks. And
apparently the car was broken into many pieces, and he died. He got thrown out of the car and died instantly.
Yeah.
So
Jeez.
I didn't think it was necessary. It would have been. Just the way the movie would have worked, it would have been better. It's like in Rush, right? Like we don't need to see that Hunt dies, but we just get that in the scroll, right? Like that's good enough.
Or, I think it was like the text. Didn't he say like in an over text, like he's walking away and then he says it over?
Yeah, the two of them walking like with their arms around each other and be like, well, "Let's go train for next year," and then bam into your scroll. I think that would have been good enough.
Yeah.
But we do get a scroll in this film, and we find out Ford wins the next 3 Le Mans races.
Yeah. Only American vehicle to do it.
Yeah, that's surprising.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Mm-hmm. Now, in doing my research, so I have some questions. So in doing some research, you know what surprised me the most?
What?
So that Ford bureaucrats were not actually against Miles.
Really?
No, not
Oh.
really. In fact, this movie is missing a year. The first time the Fords went to Le Mans in this movie was 1964.
Okay.
When the Fords won was 1966. We don't get the 1965 year that Miles actually went for Ford, and they lost. All the Fords lost that year. Does this revelation take away from the movie?
A little bit. I'm not gonna lie. The whole story, right? They had this whole thing like, oh, don't trust the suits, and now you kind of have that, like, okay.
Well, it was still Lee Beebe's idea to do that.
Yeah.
I think it's important. I don't think it takes away from the story. I don't. Because at the end of the day, every story needs an antagonist. You need to have one. Do you know that Enzo Ferrari was not there either? He never goes to Le Mans. Like, never went there. But again, to have the antagonist there,
Yeah.
like I think it just adds to the story. Like, it's okay.
Fair enough.
It's not like one of those things where it's like everything still happened. He still Ken Miles still won Daytona. He still got robbed at Le Mans. McLaren still won Le Mans. The only difference was it made it look like his attitude cost him not to almost go.
Yeah.
But he didn't go the first year in 64.
Okay.
Maybe not, but maybe for different reasons.
Fair enough.
So I have no issue with that. I don't think it takes away from the story. Is this movie missing anything for you? Like, would you like to see something that it didn't show?
Not really. I did because I don't know anything about it, so I couldn't figure. I wouldn't be able to pick what I would miss.
There was one thing that stuck out at me, and I don't know anything about it that I would have loved to know. We get this idea that Ken Miles was very old, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was past his prime. You caught the reason why he was.
Yeah, he went to war.
And we see the picture of him, and he even broke the glass of that picture.
Yeah.
I would have liked to know more about that, his time in World War II. I mean, again, I just because they showed, if they talk about it, like clearly it's an important aspect to his life, right?
Yeah. But also the story is Ford versus Ferrari. Not
I
Ken
know,
Miles
I
versus
know,
Ferrari.
I know, but I'm just
So,
listen. It's
It's
not
interesting, but you got to read about
Here's
that.
the problem, Xavier. They did such a good job developing these two characters. I want more.
Yeah, no,
It's
fair
their fault
enough.
for developing enticing characters that interested me.
Yeah, no,
I
fair
want to know
enough.
more about their lives. I do. I want to know as much as I possibly could.
All right.
All right. Last question I have for you. Where does this film rate in the pantheon of racing films?
It's on the higher end for me.
I got a little hot take for you.
What?
Best racing movie ever.
Oh, what about The Art of Racing with the Dog?
That's not a racing. It's not really a racing movie. That's like it's like a rom-drum that's got some racing elements to it.
Oh, okay.
This is a racing movie. This is all about racing.
Okay, fair enough.
I think this might be my number one. I was so impressed by it.
I've only seen like 2 racing films.
You never,
And Death Race.
well, you seen Rush?
Yeah. And Ford versus Ferrari.
You never seen like Thunder?
No.
What about not Thunder? Days of Thunder. I don't know why I said Thunder.
No.
No, with Tom Cruise.
No.
What about what's the Sly movie? Driven.
No.
I know they're bad movies. I'm just saying, have you?
I've never seen them.
Okay. All right.
I've
Do you
only
have
seen 2, so
any,
I guess.
anything else you want to talk about? Anything else we missed?
No. Nothing
All right.
else.
What are you giving this out of 10?
I'm going to give this for me, I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. I enjoyed the film a lot, and it was a great story, and it had everybody's acting was amazing. Christian Bale, always phenomenal. Matt Damon, and it had the greatest actor in the world, John Bernthal.
That's the only reason you like this movie, because John Bernthal was in it.
No, I liked it more because he wasn't in it a lot. That's why it loses a point. because they didn't put
Half
any
a
more.
point, you mean?
Half a point.
Yeah, well, I'm surprised. I thought you wanted to talk about how they didn't give enough time to John Bernthal.
Yeah, I didn't get into that. Get into that.
Why not?
It's just more my personal nitpick, right? That's why it loses a point. You know, he's kind of in there after like the first test, and he kind of just showing close-ups of his face and not the actual.
I would have liked to see more on him too. I would like to see less on Ken Miles' wife and more on Lee Iacocca.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
It was also good because it's a role that I've seen him not really play. Usually, he plays like the psychopath or the real big tough guy. Like this is a very different role for him. I enjoyed it though.
I like this as well, and I'm gonna give it a 9.5 as well.
Oh, wow! I think it's the highest score we've given films. Like not the highest score, like for both films back to back in the podcast.
Yeah, I think we've had two. This is the first time in a long time that we've had two good movies.
Yeah.
It's been a good month. I think November's been a
dude.
really good month.
I'm always excited for November and early December. For
I'm a little worried about next week, but we'll worry about that after.
Yeah.
Okay, so time for this special treat. So Xavier, you know what I hate more than almost anything in the world?
Reboots.
Reboots or remakes. Can't stand them. I find that they just do it. All they want to do is shit on the good of the old film.
Yes.
That being said, we continually see movies that are either rebooting, remaking, making back like 10 years later, 15 years later. I mean, The Matrix, for example, Beverly Hills Cop. They're redoing all these films.
Yeah.
So I thought, my idea was, well, what happens if, let's say they were going to make one. What about if we can get on board on this and recast it before they make it with our dream cast? So I wanted to take an old movie and recast it modernly. So they were going to remake it, which we do not, just so we're clear, we do not want them to. Specifically the movie we're going to be talking about.
Well, I don't care if they do it, but you don't. Don't speak for me, please.
I won't. But you like when they remake old movies?
I don't care.
Okay.
Sometimes it's for the better.
What about if
sometimes
it's your
for the worse.
childhood movie? What about if it's something you're nostalgic to? Okay.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I still have
we are
the
going
original
to-
version, right?
we are going to be recasting The Princess Bride if it was filmed today. If they were going to remake it. Which, again, stress to you, we do not want to see it remade. This movie does not need to be remade. But if they were going to, we're going to recast a couple characters from the film. So we've got 9 characters we have to recast. So that nine characters that we think are the biggest 9. And we will give you a modern actor who should be playing this role.
Okay.
So we are going to start by talking about the Prince Humperdinck's right-hand man, Count Tyron Rugen. So Xavier, who should be playing the enforcer, Count Rugen?
Count Rugen. I put. I honestly, this is the only one I forgot to do. I didn't like it. So I'm just gonna think it on the spot and just give a nice little throwaway.
Actually, before you're thinking about it, I'm going to save you some time. So, listeners and viewers, Xavier did not like The Princess Bride, so make sure you give him some hate, or love that he doesn't like that you don't like the movie either.
Yeah.
But Xavier did not like this movie, and he really kicked and screamed when we made him do this.
I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I watched this and I was like, okay, this is not for me. But like I said, I didn't grow up with this. Probably if I watched this in my childhood, I would enjoy it. We all have movies that a lot of people think are terrible that I really enjoy. Like I love the movie The Rock. A lot of people hate that film.
Okay, I gave you some time to think.
Yeah.
You hopefully you used it.
I wasn't thinking about it. So for Count Rugen, the enforcer, I'm gonna go. Who's a nice, good enforcer guy that's good at being a real.
Here,
prick.
how about I go first? For
I
this?
say Colin Farrell. There we go.
Actually, that's not a bad one. When I think of Count Rugen, he is Humperdinck's right-hand man. He's good with torture and murder. He's a sophisticated enforcer, cruel and sadistic, and he's fascinated with pain. He's more dangerous than Humperdinck. He's intelligent because he creates a torture machine. So when I was thinking of who could play that kind of role today, I thought Christoph Waltz.
Ooh.
Maybe a
That's
little
good.
bit too old to play him, but I feel like as someone who's a torturer for like his father, he could have been a little bit older. I think of the character from Inglourious Bastards, right? He's all about cruel and sadistic. He's intelligent. He always plays it. Waltz always seems to play the intelligent role.
Yeah.
He's very sophisticated. He has an accent, so that goes with it, right?
Mhm.
So that's who I'm thinking for.
I'm a big fan of Christoph Waltz.
Me too. Now our producers, when we found out we were doing this, they definitely wanted to get their recasting in too. So in the peanut gallery, do you have anyone here? No. Oh, they don't have one for. Apparently, everyone forgot about poor Count Rugen.
Yeah, because he sucks.
So now we're going to talk about the grandson. I'll go first on this one. So in the original, it was played by Fred Savage. And like Fred Savage's character, he was too cool for school, right? He was skeptical of the story. He just called it a kissing book. So I thought you got to be someone young, someone who's like a cool kid, like Savage was. I'm thinking of Jacob Tremblay. I think of he's the cool kid from like
It?
Good Boys.
Oh, okay, that kid. Oh, okay.
Yeah, the kid from Good Boys.
The skinny one?
Yeah, the one
The
who's
main one?
who wants to find love.
The girl? Okay,
Yeah. I feel like he's he's liked by everyone. He'd be the one like in the movie he doesn't want to talk to his dad about kissing. Like I feel like he'd be that kind of character.
No. For me, I don't know the name of the character's name. I don't know the
It's his
kid's name.
grandson.
No, I mean like the name of the actor.
Oh boy.
But remember the kid from It that plays Eddie?
Yep.
I was thinking him. Because he's black hair. I just thought because he kind of just looks the role, and plus he's more funny, and he has better little quips than that kid, Jacob Tremblay.
Yep. Maybe.
Yeah.
Do you in the peanut gallery? Do you have anyone back there?
The kid from Stranger Things, Dustin.
Ooh,
I was
Dustin.
thinking that.
So,
Oh, that'd be pretty
I
good.
really thought Dustin, but you know Dustin is 17 years old in real life. That actor.
Yeah, but he doesn't look it.
He,
None of them look the age they are.
I get it, but you got to remember he'd be like 18 by the time of. I don't know. I looked at he was he was on my
It's just
short list.
hypothetical.
He's
Let's
too
say
old.
if it was just made right now, doesn't
He's
mean
17 playing like a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
I'm
you
just
can
saying.
do it.
I don't. Okay, that's fine. I'm just saying he's a little bit too old. All right, Xavier, the grandpa.
And Grandpa, I just did good old classic Robert De Niro, baby. This is great, it's funny, or Morgan Freeman because he has a great voice. But then you're like, why is the one kid? He's adopted.
All right, I look the grandfather. He cares for his grandson.
Liam Neeson.
He pinches his cheeks. He criticizes technology. He's like your everyman, right? Got the smile on his face. I think there's only one guy who can play this role. Oh, maybe many, but there's one guy that always comes to my mind. The most everyman person in Hollywood, Tom Hanks.
course you'd say Tom Hanks.
He's the everyman in Hollywood. He smiles. He's funny. He plays comedic roles. He's gonna play Mr. Rogers in a movie coming out next week. He's your prototypical grandfather.
You're gonna spend that much money on the guy reading the narrative. So you gotta have.
Hey, he's telling the story, and Tom Hanks can narrate a story. He did it in Green Mile.
Yeah.
Just saying. All right,
Or Liam Nelson.
producers.
Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum.
Oh, that's
Okay.
interesting. I like all the Greek casts, and I wouldn't complain about any of them.
All right, let's talk about Fezzik, Andre the Giant's character. So when you're thinking of Andre the Giant, you got to think of like this gentle giant. He's this ugly brute that can crush bones, but he's this innocent guy at heart, right? He takes orders from the small Vicini. So you gotta have someone. And Andre, he was French. He barely spoke English. He's a WWE guy. He stood at 7'4". He's only seen as bad because of his size. So when I thought of that, I'm like, you know who would be perfect for him? I got two. They're the same guy though. The Great Khali or the Big Show. They're both WWE guys. They're they're both gentle giants. They're both quote unquote ugly. They're
Whoa.
7'1" and 7'2". I quoted for those listening. I quoted ugly. They both have acted. Great Khali and Great Smart are The Longest Yard, The Big Show. He's got some acting experience as well. They both can be somewhat funny. I think The Great Khali would be better. A little bit more diversity in your movie. I think he's got more of the scare to him. The Big Show, I think, is more like haha funny.
Yeah.
So I would go with that. Xavier?
I have two as well.
Of course.
I have your classic monstrous man. I picked Dwayne The Rock Johnson just because he just looks like. And I also picked Shaquille O'Neal, Shaq.
Oh my god, I can totally see Shaq.
To play him, right? He has acting experiences as well. You know, he can grab some boulders and throw them. Plus, he's pretty goofy and funny looking a little bit, you know, like in some of his, as you can tell in his NBA shows. So I figured I'm more leaning towards Shaq for anything. That's who I kind of thought. At first, when I was looking, I was like maybe John Cena or but I'm like, they're kind of too jacked,
you need someone
you know?
tall. You need someone tall to play him, I think.
Yeah.
He's a giant, right? So that's why I pick guys that were 7 foot, and I think Shaq's your better choice.
Yeah.
We had two as well. We had Dalip Singh as our number one, a.k.a. the Great Khali.
Oh, look, you got an agreement back there.
Who is an Indian movie star.
Yes, he is.
And we did have Paul White, a.k.a. the Big Show.
Oh, look at that. The producers took that too right from me.
I was thinking of the Big Show as well.
You know what, guys? I think you're dead wrong on this one. This is the worst casting you've done. I'm just kidding. I picked them, obviously. All right. So we are going to talk about Vicini right now. Go ahead, Xavier. I love my Vicini pick.
Vicini? I'm so typical. I picked like Danny DeVito a little bit. I thought he'd play a good role in that, and I think he'd be a little bit more funnier in the role. So that was my pick, Danny DeVito.
DeVito, not DeVito.
DeVito, sorry.
All right. So when I think of Vicini, this is your calculated buffoon. He's your quote-unquote criminal mastermind. He has this big, huge personality, but he's this small guy. And yet, even though he's this small guy, he stands up to Fezzik, this 7-foot monster, and he is able to boss him around. He treats his subordinates poorly, despite relying on them to do all the work for him. He gives these great speeches of dialogue, and then he obviously has the quote inconceivable. Mm-hmm. So when I think of someone who has a big personality, who could own the screen, and someone who could boss around someone like 10 times his size, there's only one person who could do that. Peter Dinklage.
Oh.
I think of the
decent
mastermind of Game of Thrones. He can play the big personality. He can be calculating. We see it with Tyrion. He is hilarious. It would be also hilarious to see him beside the Great Khali, giving him orders, bossing him around. And we know he has great ability to give speeches because he does it. And we know he can play comedy because we've seen that as well in like Pixels. So he is a very well-diverse actor.
Pixels sucks.
Pardon?
Pixels sucks.
Doesn't matter. He's comedic in it.
I don't know if I can see him as comedic though.
That's did you see Pixels?
Yeah, it sucks.
But did you not think he was funny in it? Forget the movie.
No.
Oh, I think he was hilarious.
I didn't think anything was
funny in
Pixels.
When he wanted to sleep with Serena Williams and Martha Stewart.
No.
I think I like Peter Dinklage. I think that's my favorite of all the ones of all my casting. That's my favorite. Who's got producers? Who do you got for Vicini?
We had two.
Oh, they have two for this too.
Toss up. We think Steve Buscemi would have been extremely good.
Steve Buscemi.
We went with our number one pick. We think Martin Short would have played him.
Martin Short. They'd be good. I still think like putting Peter Dinklage beside the Great Khali would be amazing. All right. So we're going to talk about Prince Humperdinck now, the villain. Xavier?
I picked oh my god, I can't freaking say his name. Played Doctor Strange. Oh my
Benedict
god.
Cumberbatch?
Benedict Cumberbatch. I picked him to be him. I feel like he'd play a good role in that sense. I was also debating to put him as Wesley too, but I think he'd play a better villain. He's pretty good. He plays good villain speeches, as you can hear in when he's Smaug and the Dragon in The Hobbit.
I think that when I think of the villain in this film, I thought they misused him. I thought he was of all the characters, they didn't get him right. They made him arrogant, which was great. He wants to take over the kingdom from his father. He's power hungry. But there's a charm to him that they never really explore. And I wanted to see him more buffoony, more comedic.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants to marry Buttercup just to have her murdered. It's actually a brilliant plan. And when I think of someone who's got some charm to them, but some good looks that everyone would want to marry, I think Chris Hemsworth. And I look at Hemsworth like the first Thor movie where he's arrogant, he's lust for power. But I also think of all the humor he has in Men in Black and Ghostbusters and Vacation, when he just plays the character that's just out to lunch. And I really think that if you take that humor that Hemsworth has and adds it, it would make the Prince an even better character. So I think he would do a very good job. Producers, who do you guys got for the villain of the film?
Javier Bardem.
Javier Bardem. I like that. It's a good one. I think he
good.
could do a good job of that too. He's got. He might be a little bit too old to be marrying a young princess, though. That's the only. Unless,
All the more reason.
He has the biggest head in Hollywood.
Not if you have Shaquille O'Neal in the film.
Yeah, no, that's true.
All right. Inigo Montoya, played by Mandy Patinkin. So, listen, for the record, this is the easiest person to cast. There's only one choice for this, and just so we're all clear on this. He is honorable, kind-hearted, and he's trying to take care of himself. He was an alcoholic and, lived in poverty. He's trying to do better. And he's out for revenge. He's on this quote-unquote suicide mission. And when I think of a character to play Inigo Montoya, I think of Diego Luna.
Okay.
Diego Luna is from Rogue One. I just see him talking and I just hear Mandy Patinkin and Inigo Montoya. That's it. I got nothing. I don't need to add more. I dare you to rewatch the Rogue One and be like, that's Inigo Montoya.
That's a pretty good pick. I didn't pick that. I was picking me. I picked Oscar. It's toss up between Oscar Isaac for me.
Oscar Isaac's a good choice too.
What's his face from Game of Thrones? Prince Oberyn, and he's in The Mandalorian. The guy that played Prince Oberyn in The Mandalorian and in Narcos. Forget what his name is. Oh my god, I can't. I know it, but you know who I'm talking about.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Explain. That's it. No.
Yeah, those are the two. Oscar Isaac and
Producers.
We were all the way with Oscar Isaac.
yeah.
But now you see Diego Luna, right? I want you to think of that Rogue One character.
Yeah, it makes sense, but Oscar Isaac's a better actor.
All right. I think Wesley was the hardest to kind of recast. Carrie L's character. What do you have?
For me, for Wesley, just put in some nice little protagonist. Maybe put in I was gonna say Tom Cruise, not Tom Cruise, but for that I wasn't. That was very hard for me. Who I would probably have to go with. I'm gonna say maybe Chris Evans or something around that end, just to I'm the goody good guy. So Chris Evans.
I do love Chris Evans. I can't argue with that. What Wesley is, he's passionate, handsome, he can fight, he's witty, he's quick-witted, brave, got charm and comedic timing, which I think is crucial for him to have that comedic timing. As much like Chris Evans, I don't know if he's got that. I thought of two guys, but the guy I'm going to go with is Ryan Reynolds. Because I think Ryan Reynolds has all those qualities. He has that comedic timing.
He's not even the better actor. Should pick Gosling.
I
changed to Gosling.
He was my second choice. But I
changed mine to Gosling.
I think either of the Ryans could do a good job at it. They both could do it. Producers?
We went with the handsome boy Zac Efron.
Efron.
He has
Efron's
good
a good
comedic
choice.
timing
He's
too.
Good.
Yeah,
he's a
really
good one, and he's ripped.
Yeah.
So I mean, he could definitely.
But he's short, so. Gosling
only
all the
reason
way.
I-
I'm on the Gosling train,
The
baby.
only reason I didn't go with Zac Efron, who
Woo,
I thought of,
woo.
is because of the female I cast. I went with a
Who's
little bit
your female?
older. Well, you tell us who played your Princess Buttercup
No,
first.
I picked first. You have to say.
Well, that's
yours.
right.
I picked Wesley, so it's your turn to go first.
That's true. So Robin Wright's character of Princess Buttercup is demanding, brave, quick thinking, and passionate. Her at the end of the day, she needs to be rescued. However, she's headstrong and a very independent woman. And the person I think that can play her very well is Brie Larson. I know she can own the screen through Captain Marvel. She also has some great wit that we saw in Free Fire. She's tough and independent, and we know she can act in Room. She's got an Academy Award, so that's my Princess Buttercup, Brie Larson.
Mine was Alicia Vikander.
Not a bad choice.
So she's in Ex Machina and Ex Machina, or sorry, I should say, and oh my god, I forgot the other movie I was gonna say. But anyways, Tomb
Girl with
Raider.
Dragon Tattoo.
Girl
Not
with the
Tomb
Dragon
Raider. No,
Tattoo.
sorry,
Oh,
wasn't that.
And Tomb Raider as well, so you kind of see her capable, all the reasons you said, but I decided to go with a brunette instead of a blonde.
I just went with the blonde because the original is a blonde.
Yeah.
But yeah,
We're recasting, baby. We're changing it up.
producers.
Astrid Burgess Frisbee.
Oh, she was in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh,
She was
okay.
the mermaid from the fourth one.
Okay, interesting.
Not a bad choice. Not a bad choice. All right, so that's our recasting. Let us know what you think. Who would be these? I found this harder to do than I expected.
It was fun for the most part. While I was watching, I started doing it while I was watching the film because God knows I never want to watch that again.
I don't understand how. Xavier has demanded to do it the next time if we decide to do the recasting again that Xavier gets to choose the movie. So if you don't like his choice,
My choice is way better. It's the
Just-
best choice ever.
Just remember that if you don't like the movie he chooses, he has no imagination. So just remember that.
I have a great imagination.
All right, that's it for us this week. Next week we'll be talking about Frozen 2, Charlie's Angels, and it's Xavier's turn to ask me some trivia questions. So Xavier's on trivia duty.
Yeah. Have a good night or
Have a
good
great week, everyone.
See you later, alligator.